G'day viewers, my name's Graeme Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do. G'day viewers, welcome to my studio, Graeme Stevenson here. Before we go into a lesson I'm going to do with you today, is I wanted to really briefly explain to the viewers out there really what this is designed to do and where the idea came from. I actually do a TV show in the United States, in Los Angeles, that's broadcast right across the US to about 70 million viewers a year. And after doing that for a number of years now and working with these guys, they actually saw my work on TV, which I thought was pretty bizarre when I first heard of the idea, but it's proved to be quite successful. And then coming back to Australia, a client actually approached me from public television, which is what you guys are watching right now, and said, did you have any ideas for TV shows for Australia? And at the time, I sort of thought, no, I really didn't. But after a while, I just sort of thought, you know what? The power of what I saw overseas and what I'm quite sure that this can do and is doing right now for the artists. I mean, the guys are getting great results for their work and obviously being able to display what they do, is to put a show together that was a little bit more like Two Hairy Bikers or Billy Connolly, and obviously you see me on the Harley Davidson. And then just basically going to these great talented men and women and seeing what they do. And the response has been quite good, and the idea of this is to help the artists to get a better profile. I mean, there's only about 5% of the artists in this country that actually make a living out of what they do. The galleries are great. Unfortunately, we've lost about half of our galleries in Australia in the last 4 years. And I thought to myself, there has to be a better way that we can, as artists, to present ourselves to the public so they can get to see what we do, instead of just being confined in one place and then having somebody, in a sense, dictate to you. Don't get me wrong, the galleries are great, and I am in galleries myself in a number of places and in the States and overseas, but there are better ways that we can do this, and I think that this TV show is going to create the format where artists can really express themselves in better. But you're going to actually do something with me today. Believe it or not, I just don't ride a Harley Davidson. I actually do paint, I've been doing it for 30 years. And some of the stuff that you see behind me is my work. And as we go through, you're going to see a little bit more of that. And hopefully I can impart some of the knowledge and the wisdom that's been given to me by some extraordinary men and women. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I designed the series, is that when people pass away, unfortunately we just lost Margaret Ollie recently, how do we leave that legacy? Where does that information go? And generally you just see the paintings, but you don't see the process that those artists did, and that's what this is designed to do. So once again, come with us on the journey, and we're going to set some stuff up now so that you can see what I do as well. Alright guys, well what we're going to do today is these are some backgrounds that I actually do for some of my work. Some of the pieces that I do that really sort of, it's just the culmination of just starting with this and then building the whole process. But we're going to go through actually just doing these today. It's sort of, if you've got kids there, bring them out because it's a lot of fun. But it's really just using the chroma colours that I've got here, the interactive colours that I actually use, and then just building up the various layers, and then just watching this as it sort of morphs through the process is just quite fascinating. It's really, really, really interesting. But as you can see, they're just the base ones that I've done, and as you can see by the pictures that we're screening in, as we go through this particular segment, you'll be able to see the end results of what this type of thing can actually do for you. So I'll pop those down here, and then what I generally do is start off. I mean, I generally gesso the canvas, and I give it about probably 2 or 3 layers of gesso. I stretch this myself. I actually stretch all of my own canvas. I know a lot of you guys will buy the stuff, but I think it's I think it's important to really go through the whole process of, moulding this particular picture into the place that you want it to go. But generally what I do is, and it's a really unexpected technique, it sort of just does its own thing, and I tend to use colours that really react and respond to each other, and using a lot of the primaries to sort of get what I want out of it. But what I generally do with this is jug of water. These guys, you can buy these at the stores, it's like you get $52 or something. But I'll start by just putting these colours in, and it's a sort of fairly thick mixture in doing so, and I'll squeeze out as many colours as I possibly can. I do use occasionally in these, just trying to get that back on. I do use occasionally in these is I really like the copper and the metal colours. You can get copper, silver and gold, but I actually really quite enjoy the refractive aspect that it has after you've finished with it. And then squeezing this guy in as well. The beauty about this is they really retain their intensity quite well. And this isn't a technique, I must admit, for everybody, but it's just one of those things that you can play around with and really come up with quite extraordinary colour range as you go through. And just to watch what the colours do is pretty amazing as well. I'd like to get some really tight camera angles on that one for you. Squeezing out the yellow. As I said, you're going to, as you can see by that there, I've squeezed out, like about a tablespoonful of paint into that. That should do to cover this particular size picture. I've got a lot of these little tubes here, and they're like little plastic tubes. I've got large ones, small ones. As you can see, there's gold in this one here. But I actually squeeze a lot of colours into these so that when I ring, that one's actually got oil on it, so I won't be using that one because it's all water-based paint. But I'll actually squeeze a lot of the colours out of here, and you get some pretty dynamic effects as that sort of starts to move out as well. But we'll go through that as we go along. I've got some more of them there. Oh, there's a blue one. Here's a blue one. Okay, what else have we got? We've got that, we've got the gap. I quite like this this cobalt turquoise light. I think it's a really cool colour. It just, I don't know, it just sort of tends to do what you want it to do. Squeeze some of that in there as well. And like so. Right, squeeze that in. Well, as you can see, guys, I'm nearly set up here with the Payne's grey there. Lovely colour. Now for the exciting part. This gets quite good. It's a lot of fun too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour just a small amount of water into a lot of these guys. Not too much, because if it gets too wet, the paint just simply breaks up, and you won't be able to control where you want it to go. So, and if there's too much water in it, it'll just basically blend in and you won't get anything out of it at all. So you just need a little bit of water, maybe that yellow there. I've just got another one here, so if I think it's a bit too much before I start, I'll just pour that out. It's a bit better, a little bit more. Okay, and then, as you can see, you don't need too much. That one there, like so, and that one there, like so. And then what we do with these guys is we've really got to mix them quite thoroughly. So it's really, as I'll show you, just a matter of getting the end of your paintbrush, just mixing it around and around and around. As I said, you don't want too much water in there, because if it breaks down, you can see that it's sort of like a consistency of sort of really wet mud, I suppose you could say. But that's really about all that you're going to need to get that where you want it to go. And as you can see, it's sort of, yeah, pretty muddy. If it's too thin or it's too thick, it just don't want to do what you want it to do. Okay. Once again, same thing. Mix it round and round and round. And these cups are just disposable. You can toss them away. I mean, sometimes I try and reuse them, but for $2, so make sure you recycle them. Okay, same thing. Colours have still got to be pretty consistent. Really not, as I said, not too much water. And then squeeze it out. You can go through a lot of paint with these techniques, and the bottom line is that, if you really want that dynamic background, that if one really stands out, well, really got to, use your paint. That's what it's there for. This guy's quite spectacular. So I'll mix that there like so. I'm going to use more red. I've said, don't be afraid to use the paints. And this will get the results that you want to get. I'm a little fastidious when it comes to putting the tops back on again. So I just don't want the stuff everywhere without mixing the red. This is great, I love red. As you can see, I love red. So we mix that. And a good idea before you actually even start this technique is to actually let the paint sit for 5 or 10 minutes, so that if there's any particles in here that you haven't actually soaked up or broken down, like lumpy bits, because the last thing you want is to have a whole bunch of big lumps over it. You really want it to flow quite smoothly. And that one, put them to the side, just let them sit there. Okay, we've got yellow now. I still think there's a bit too much water in that yellow, just a tad. You're better off having a little less and then just building it up than trying to keep adding more and more and more colour. See, that's actually going to come out quite well now. But you can see that real sort of muddy consistency starting to build on it. Lovely. And those colours, juxtaposed against each other, they look really, really quite dynamic. And then this is just the start. As I said, those backgrounds really are just a format that you can use to build other ideas and techniques on. Make sure you clean your brush, or the end of your brush anyway, because like I said, we want to try and keep those colours as separate as possible. And the beauty about doing this is that there's a whole range of different colours. Chroma makes a ton of different colours that you can actually use to do this. So it's not a matter of having to try and mix the colours. There are myriad amounts of colours that you can buy that will help you to do this technique. As I said, generally you just leave those sit there for 5 or 10 minutes, come back, you've got your canvas ready. Nice flat surface. Generally also, it's probably a good idea, and I'll have to there's a towel over there, because with this surface, if it's not really level, you're going to find that the water's just going to pour straight up one side. And the idea is to have the table as level as you possibly can, and then fill it up with water. You don't necessarily have to take the edge of it, some people do, but fill the whole thing up with the water so that you've really got that capillary reaction just sitting on the edge of the whole picture. And then you can literally start to pour your paints in on the top of that again. But you probably need a couple of old towels, because the fact is that if you're doing it, carpet here doesn't matter because it's in the studio, but if you're doing it anywhere else, it can get quite messy. Next thing that we do is we're going to take the water and we're going to pour the water just in the middle. Now you can see the table's pretty level, it's not running off too much to one side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my hands to spread the technique across, or the water across. Technique's coming. Really soak it. If you've got that gesso in there, and you're really going to have to gesso the board as well, because if you don't, what you'll find is that the canvas just immediately soaks up the water, and basically it just kills your technique straight away, because it'll just simply soak through. So if you've got some good layers of gesso on there, it'll tend to seal the canvas, and as you can see, all of that, just push it right out to the edge. You could probably use a large watercolour brush to do this if you wanted to, or just a normal brush, but I'm using my hands on this one, all the way to the edge, so that the whole thing is just completely soaked. enough at the fun part. Now, there's no particular way to do this. I mean, it's sort of really how you feel in the moment, is the best way to describe it. So what we're going to do is, I've used a lot of the primaries, as you can see, and then just some others. You can mix and mirror it of your own colours if you want a green background or red or blue, you know, depending on the subject that you want. But for this exercise, I'm going to roll this around once again, and I'm just going to spread these guys across. So, and you can actually see it starting to move already. You still see some of those little lumps in there, you know, because it's really not soaked up the way it should be. But I'm going to use this one here, and then bring that all the way around the edge there. So, like that. And then the blues, and I'm really separating these colours, as you can see. See, there's a bit of a puddle that's sort of formed in the middle there. Probably need a little bit more water in that one. You don't want it to be too muddy. It needs to just simply flow quite easily. Stop there like so. Don't sort of, I've actually see I've separated the colours quite a bit there. And then what I'm going to do, there's still a lot of water on there, I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to send some of that water off the edge, hopefully not with too much of the colour. Then I'm going to start to manoeuvre it around. And actually, as you can see, okay. Really should sort of have a cloth, but I'm just going to bring it to this side here and get it to soak some of that water up. Use the white. The white sort of tends to have a, see that there? White has a really adverse reaction to it. Look at that, it starts to morph. I mean, the whole thing sort of turns into a giant amoeba. That's some sort. I like that negative edge down there. I'm going to leave that. I don't want to sort of just completely cover the whole thing. But you can actually see that white's actually doing to it as well. There's another technique that we're going to use, which really sort of tends to make it go quite bizarre, and a lot of this will dry down. As you can see, it's fairly high at the moment, but I'm just going to take some gum turpentine, might put it in this way, soak it up with the brush, and then it starts to morph out. Oh, can you see that? And that really starts to separate a lot of that colour out once again. So you can actually see it sort of pushes a lot of the colours that are in there away. You can see this thing is still sort of moving around. They look like, it looks like little crab nebulas in outer space, so I just find it fascinating to sit and watch all of what the paint does, and it sort of seems to make these little fractals. I mean, there's a picture, it's just amazing. They look like little trees in there, it's incredible. What I'm going to do, because I've got a lot of water in the middle here and I don't want those dark colours to settle in too much, I'm just going to soak, right in this middle spot here, I'm going to soak the excess water. You can see it's starting to move again. I just want all of that excess water to come out. as you can see, guys, what I've done now is I've taken the end of the paintbrush and I'm just really working a lot of this colour around. Just pulling it out, pushing it along. Some areas where it's quite thick. You really don't know, funnily enough, where or the best angle for this picture is going to be. I mean, I just simply don't know at the moment. But I'm just using the brush in certain areas and I'm just pushing those colours out. Literally, it's like I'm writing on the actual surface of it, pulling different areas out here and there. And the idea of all of this, once again, guys, is it's about education. It's about you guys understanding what we do and taking this show, and obviously the website that we've designed, and come in and really find out how you can do a lot of this yourself. I mean, if you wanted to learn how to paint a kookaburra in watercolours, well, eventually we're going to have somebody in there that can do it. In fact, I think we might even have somebody in there that does do that. And literally, all of these different techniques are going to be part and parcel of getting in touch with your right brain creative side, which is the one that I think of lots lacking in the world these days. Look at that there. Sensational colours. As I said, I don't know where this is going to go. Once it's dry, basically the picture will talk to me. I mean, some of these things you sort of say to yourself, look, I don't even want to touch them because they look great. But in the end, it'll basically tell me what it wants to do. So I hope you enjoyed what we did today, and in the next episode, or when I'm back on again, I'm going to show you how to actually put all of this together and how I'm actually going to put other colours down and then simply build a story around this pretty dynamic background, or these dynamic backgrounds. And as I say, if you want to know more about this, you can go to the website colorinyourlife.com.au. We're really building a library of the minds of artists, and it doesn't matter who you are, if you've got something to say and teach and educate people, well, we'd like to hear from you. And potentially in the end, we're going to allow you to upload your own videos so that you have a voice as well, and hopefully we can tell the rest of the world what you're doing too. But until we meet again, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life. See you next time.